Welcome back, everybody, to Volatility Trading Strategies. So let me start with a genuine thank you to everybody out there who's followed my work over the years. I really do appreciate it. I've tried my best to share as much information as I can, unpack some of these complex aspects of the volatility space, and just help as many investors as I can. So hopefully a few of you out there feel like you're a little better equipped to take on these unruly markets. Now, I have shared my origin story several times in articles and live streams, but I will put together a video for the YouTube channel as well because none of this was planned. And I think my story may resonate with some of you who have trading aspirations of your own. And who knows, maybe 10 years from now, you'll also be making a similar video to the one I'm making here today. Because it's now officially been 10 years since I launched the subscription to the VTS community. And again, thank you so much to everybody who's been with me on this journey to financial freedom. So as a 10th anniversary review, I'm going to divide this up into two sections. And the first one today, I'm going to talk about my 3 biggest successes that I had in the last decade. And then in a follow-up part 2, which is always at least equally important, if not more important, I'm going to share all the mistakes I made and what I learned from those. So stay tuned for that later. And as always, if you want to jump on board and join us here at VTS, there's a link in the description with a free trial for anybody who's interested. You'll see the daily email, the volatility dashboard, all the live trade signals to see if it's right for your long-term investing goals. Now, I'm not nearly at the finish line yet, of course. As I've always said, investing is not a sprint, it's a marathon. But let's talk about the top 3 successes that I had in the last decade. Now, for me, as a former professional golfer, a career where basically only performance matters, I've carried a lot of that over into investing, and so for me, my number one goal will always be performance related. I'm trying to build a multi-decade track record earning 15% per year, and success number 1 is that I have surpassed that. Now, it won't come in a linear fashion, of course, markets do ebb and flow, and my results will also be a mixture of good and bad years as well, but a long-term 15% per year rate of return will allow anybody to retire very well off. Let me show you an example. Here's an investor starting with just $1,000, earning an average 15% annual rate of return. Now that may not sound like much in this silly social media age, but trust me, very few people will achieve that going forward. So I am showing this with capital gains tax paid along the way, but doing it in a tax-sheltered account, of course, is also an option. And then saving $1,000 a month so they can add that to their account, which I hope everybody out there is trying to do. I did a full live stream on minimalism and living below your means, which I encourage all of you to check out later. Consumerism is totally out of control these days, so definitely don't buy into that. And then finally, we'll assume 0 real wage growth. Now, hopefully you can all find a way to outpace whatever inflation will be with your rising income, but I'm just using conservative numbers here, so 0 real wage growth. And you can see the result. With consistency over time, this investor crosses $1 million net worth in 21 years. They cross $2 million in 28 years. And if you start early enough, they cross $5 million in 37 years. And this is all inflation adjusted. So just ignore all the liars and charlatans out there on social media. Trust me, 15% a year long term is an exceptional rate of return, and it's definitely enough to get any of you to your retirement finish line. So for me here at VTS, I'm happy to report that I have crushed that so far. My second goal is focused on consistency and making sure people can actually realize that rate of return. Because remember, a great long-term return is totally meaningless if investors abandon the strategy anytime there's trouble. I hear people all the time saying you just buy and hold the S&P 500. It's made 8% a year in the last 30 years, and that's good enough. Okay, maybe. Now, I will say that when you factor inflation, the annual return is closer to 5% a year. But still, if someone wants that, then fine. But in order to get that return, you'd have to have suffered through multiple excruciating drawdowns and go years without making any forward progress. Again, rate of return by itself is meaningless. It has to also be accompanied by manageable levels of maximum drawdown so people can actually stay invested. If you pull the plug at the bottom, the whole process is ruined. I did another video recently breaking down my own creation of a risk-adjusted return metric called the VTS Performance Score. Essentially, it's dividing your long-term rate of return by the average of your 3 largest drawdowns. And the higher the number, the better. I don't think people really want to be in a situation where in order to get that 5% rate of return with the S&P 500, you have to suffer 55% drawdowns to get it. That's a terrible ratio, and very few people have the risk tolerance to sustain that. Ideally, you'll want the average of your 3 largest drawdowns to be at least close to your long-term rate of return. Now, that's easier said than done, of course. Everyone is going to go through periods where the market makes you look like a fool. But long-term, without a focus on drawdown reduction, the rate of return doesn't matter because all investors will pull the plug when it violates their own risk tolerance. So for the 10-year anniversary of the VTS community, we are way inside that threshold so far. Success number 3 is just a personal goal of mine with respect to education. I've spoken a lot in our live streams that I believe true happiness in this world, at least from the perspective of men, comes from doing work that truly makes you proud of yourself. The standard Venn diagram when designing your ideal career is the 3 Ps. Proficiency, of course you want to be very good at what you do. Passion, because if you don't like what you're doing, it's not going to feel rewarding. And profit, because of course this world costs money, and you do have to do something that takes care of yourself and your family. But there's a 4th one that I added in my live stream we did on the subject a few weeks ago, and that is purpose. A huge portion of how much pride you'll take in your work will be down to how much you give back to others. So it's actually the 4 Ps, not just 3. I am a good investor, and my track record proves that. I do love what I do, and I definitely bounce out of bed in the morning and can't wait to start. And of course, yes, it does make me money. But it's not truly meaningful to me if I'm not also giving back and helping other people along the way. Most of you probably found me through a YouTube video, and maybe you've even seen several. Thank you for checking them out. But I've actually done 175 videos so far. Now, I'm not sure how good I am at it, so it may not be obvious, but they are surprisingly time-consuming to make. When you factor in preparing all the charts and graphs, writing a rough outline for a script, shooting the video, then doing the editing afterwards, and finally uploading it and doing all that search engine optimization, each one probably takes over 10 hours. So please go ahead and check out some of my past videos. I'm sure there's plenty of topics that will interest you. And if you do have suggestions for me for future topics, feel free to leave those in the comment section as well. But since most of you found me through YouTube, you may not even be aware that I also share a bunch of articles as well. 10 years of a daily email to the VTS community, and I do share the most popular ones on my website. Depending on your age and your preferences, some people may prefer reading over watching videos, so those are there as well. And then something that I was deathly afraid of because of my fear of public speaking, but I consider it a huge personal success that I've also done 31 public live streams and nearly 50 private ones. So hundreds of hours of answering questions live. I am still pretty nervous, but it was a goal of mine to be more comfortable on camera. So with over 1,000 articles, videos, and live streams, I do feel like I've hit my education goals as well in the last 10 years. But I will be doubling my efforts and trying to do twice as many in the next decade. So make sure you do all the subscribing and hitting the bells and all that stuff. Looking forward for the next decade, if I can make a similar video in January 2032, I'll be very pleased. Hitting my performance goal, keeping drawdowns to an acceptable level, and doing another 1,000 articles, videos, and live streams at the low end, that's what I'm targeting, and I hope you will continue to join me on this journey. So in part 2 of this 10-year anniversary review, I'm going to talk about all my mistakes because there were plenty of those as well. And don't forget to claim your free trial on the website and see if the VTS community is right for you. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching the video. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and go check out my website right here. There's tons of articles and videos on there, as well as a free trial to join the VTS investing community. What have you got to lose? Come see how I personally navigate these unruly markets. See you next time.